Okay, so we are going to jump on to assumptions. Who would like to throw some concepts out there about what they think assumptions are? Pardon me? Oh, 37.
Beliefs that have not been tested.
Beliefs that have not been tested. Awesome. Nailed it, one. That was awesome.
I'd say maybe from a social media modern day perspective,
Yeah.
a picture and a text
Yes.
from two different sources.
Yep. Totally. So good. Anyone else?
From a living wisdom perspective, like David talks about that it's the basement. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. The subconscious beliefs, the ones at the bottom of the basement. Yeah. I'm going to put a cheeky statement out there. Does anybody know the statement about assumptions?
Oh, yeah,
Anyone want to say it, or they want to leave it to me?
Yeah.
Yep, to me. So the statement is that assumptions make an ass out of you and me. That's the cheeky statement that's out there. But what's wrong with that statement? Has anyone picked up on it?
Oh, the assumptions that don't have anything to do with the other person. It's all in your mind. Not
Could
their
be.
mind.
Could be. So the big problem with that statement is that it assumes that all assumptions are negative, but they're not. They could be positive. Yeah. Yeah. So not all assumptions are automatically negative, but like Raj said, they're simply unexamined or untested, which is why we need to get down and explore them to find out which ones are in line with reality and which ones are not. So we're on page 37, and assumption can be described as what is assumed to be true prior to any inspection or testing. Assumptions are always subconsciously held until such time as they are examined, at which time they become beliefs or else are dismissed as unworthy of any further loyalty. In other words, renounced. So assumptions lie behind all of our blind spots, most of our history's darkest times, and behind our own worst decisions and choices. So the unexamined life is full of them, and this is why we're having a look at them, because they can be cheeky to find. So assumptions are a big deal, and we're going to take a few minutes to tease out a couple of the assumptions in the listed statements here. Because if you can find the underlying assumption, it's going to fast track you with your journaling process. So, number one, a person who is repeatedly late for appointments or class, what could they be believing? No wrong answers. Feel free to chuck an idea out.
That they're unreliable.
They're believing that they're unreliable?
Or when you see someone, you think that they must be unreliable.
Okay. Yep, so that could be what we're believing about them. What could be causing the person at a subconscious level to constantly be late?
It doesn't really matter because I'm too important and I need to be there, and if I'm late, well, too bad.
Yep, so they could have an overinflated sense of self-importance. They could believe that the class doesn't really start until 10 minutes after its time.
It's a lot of islands.
Island So good. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Could be both extremes, either the self-centeredness or the unworthiness.
Yes. Yep, a sense of unworthiness. Yep, they don't need me there. I'm just a nuisance.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Maybe they think
there are no speed limits in the motorways.
No speed limits. So good. So good. What was that, Josh?
A lack of self-motivation.
Lack of self-motivation. So what would be the assumption? I don't have what it takes.
Yeah.
I can't.
I don't want to be there.
Yeah. So that might be the self-talk. What's under that? If you don't want to be there, why might you not want to be there?
Some sort of fear.
Yeah.
Low self-worth, low self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Cool. Yeah, so it could be my choices have no consequences. It could be structured people are boring. It can be they don't do anything important until 10 minutes after the start anyway. It can even be I'll have to make small talk and I hate small talk. So it can be a bunch of things. Yeah. Everyone went, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. A person who yells or communicates in ultimatums whenever they're frustrated or angry. Who wants to throw some ideas out? If your go-to is to yell or to put ultimatums out there, what could they be believing? Sure. Here you go.
That's things I never heard in general, they're just not.
Yep. Yep. So that's a master key for anger or high levels of frustration and irritability. So I don't feel heard. So if I get louder, then I'm bigger and people will hear me or respect me. Another one might be I'm never wrong.
The ultimatums,
Or
It's
it's
a control
important.
thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What's that, Raj? What's that, Raj?
I was going to say it's important for me to be in control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So the other side of that, which you're bang on, is they have an unbearable feeling of powerlessness. So control is the way that they outrun that shadow. So by delivering ultimatums, they never have to face the feeling of powerlessness. Number 3, someone whose house, kitchen, office or workshop is always in a mess. What could they be believing?
Maybe their thinking isn't well ordered. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone who doesn't always have a neat house. I mean, that's me too, but I will tidy it up. But it can get quite messy quite quickly. It is a tiny house, so that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
you save money on cleaning products.
Too good. Too good. Yep. So as long as I can find it, it doesn't matter. That's one of the assumptions in there.
My suggestion
Um,
is, I'm an artist and this stuff doesn't
Ah,
matter to me.
Okay.
I mean, that's just
Yeah.
You're being artistic.
So we talk about a hierarchy of belief.
Yeah.
For a lot of creative people, it's just not on the priority list. So it just doesn't matter. In terms of the things that have more importance, it's not in there.
Well, it could be done tomorrow.
Yeah, could be a procrastinating thing. Yeah. Let's call a spade a spade. Number 4, someone who keeps going into debt or is behind in paying their bills. Come on, have a stab. What do we think? What are they believing?
Don't have enough money.
I don't have enough money, yep. Yep, no matter how much money there is, I still don't have enough.
Yeah, no consequences.
There are no consequences, yep.
There's a sense for some to fulfill in some kind of need that, so those who will do compulsive shopping, for
Yep,
instance, and I just know somebody's in that space
yeah.
who's fighting it,
Yes.
but they have gone into debt because of it.
Mm.
And there's no need for that to have happened, but they offer, yeah, so that's a good thing.
Mm.
But I think it was for her to fill a gap in her emotional need
Yeah. Yep.
that she's struggled with, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a priority of where your money goes anyway, isn't it? If you've got those bills hovering around,
Yeah.
and then you're thinking, oh, actually maybe I need to do this or that or the other.
Mm.
That can wait. You know, they won't cut my power off.
Mm.
Give it another couple of weeks or whatever. Just a
Yeah.
thought.
So there could be an assumption that the bill company isn't serious. They'll wait for me. There could be that emotional deficit and that pressure of I need to outrun an unbearable feeling, so buy now helps.
If I ignore it, it'll go away.
If I ignore it, it'll go away. That's a big one. Yeah. Sometimes it's that mum and dad have been rescuers, so there's the assumption or the belief that they will always bail me out. Sometimes we take that and we upload it as a spiritual belief, and we say, God will bail me out, God will provide. Sometimes there's actually a little undertone of arrogance in there, so it says my needs and wants are more important than any bill, any power bill, any internet bill.
Even just those people that sit in the pokies, you know, that are just constantly just sitting there pressing. It's almost like they kind of think, you know, I'm just one click away.
Yes.
I'll do the jackpot.
Yep.
They'll just sit there for hours and hours.
Yep, absolutely. And that can be both the deficit that we're talking about, like an emotional bruise pushing it, and it can be the addictive nature of believing in quick fixes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then one that we often find with shopping is, I don't care, I need it, which is pretty short and sweet, but yeah. Okay. Number 5, someone who won't be firm or consistent with their kids. What could they be believing?
I think they're afraid to lose their children's affection.
Yep, that's great. Great recognising. Afraid to lose the affection or the friendship from their children. Yep.
Could be lack of self-worth as well.
Mm-hmm. Like a fear of rejection emotion.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, totally. Here's an uncomfortable one. It's my spouse's job to parent the kids. I want to be the good cop. I'll let them be the bad cop. So someone who takes immediate offence whenever corrected. Number 6. What could they be believing? Nobody loves me.
I'm unworthy.
Yeah.
Everyone's against me.
Everyone's against me.
Maybe that links into the trust
Yeah.
issue. If there's something's happened and instead of taking a step back or
Yeah.
they've just blocked everyone.
Totally.
What about pride?
Pride. Yeah.
Somebody who just, they think they know everything in the sense of, so when they get offended, I know it's a bit different to what we normally think about, but they get offended when they're corrected. Even though they may be wrong, but they'll just be offended because they want to be seen as somebody who knows everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arrogant.
Would be fear of rejection as well then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have welded correction and rejection together. So if you give them any feedback on how they're showing up in the room, they interpret that as you're rejecting them as a person. Were you going to say something, Jessie?
Yeah, I was going to say they probably they could have welded something, so correction with rejection or there's something else, but I forgot now.
That's cool.
But it was my foot was about welds.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be a well between their opinion and their identity or self-worth.
That's great. Good pickup. So if you didn't hear that, Raj said it could be a weld between their opinions or their perspective and their self-worth. So what I believe is who I am, so you can't tell me otherwise. Yeah. That's a really good pickup. Yeah. Just for the sake of time, we might jump to the last one. Number 11, a person who is religiously dogmatic or super spiritual, what could they be believing?
Does super imply like too spiritual?
Mm.
Does it imply a negative
Yeah.
connotation? Okay.
Yeah. So often pushing everything through a spiritual lens.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry I was late. Demons were against me on the highway. You know? Yeah. I've gained 5 pounds, the devil has an agenda. You know? It's usually void of personal responsibility. So, yeah. So this one's a tricky one. Basically, a lot of the time they are trying to assure their safety through either their spirituality or an overemphasis on being dogmatic. So they're over-functioning for a fear of inadequacy a lot of the time. So they have an overdeveloped spiritual identity to compensate for an undeveloped or underdeveloped sense of self-confidence and self-assuredness. Yeah.
Fragile ego.
Yep. Sure.
Can you give an example of being religiously dogmatic?
Yeah. Religiously. So again, that sense of my beliefs are my identity. So arguing a point to the death, not holding space for other views. You have welded your spiritual beliefs, not so much in terms of the fundamentals of faith, but your personal perspective to how you're showing up in a room. So you have to be right, you have to be the biggest one, you have to be the one who's seen to have the answers.
So
Yeah.
being doctrinally correct is the most important thing. Having the right doctrine is the most important thing. Is that what?
For this person,
For that person.
it can look like that. Really, at the end of the day, I don't know that it's even that's the highest priority point. It's being seen as the person who's revered. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say outward appearance, Jess, yeah.
Yeah, this is it. So it's almost smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the weld there? Their personal perspective and...
Their spiritual identity. Yeah.
Pharisees in the Bible are a good example of that. Pharisees.
I would encourage you to look into both Pharisees and Sadducees, because Sadducees were the ones who were known for their knowledge, and they almost fit the bill in this a little bit better than the Pharisees do. So you might find it really interesting. Yeah. So when we're going through these, we've got to be careful to avoid labelling a person and instead try and find the belief. It's much easier to decide that an individual person is an enemy rather than finding the true traitor in their army. But a lover of truth will always see beyond the behaviour someone's presenting with to say, what is the belief that's driving it? And if you wanted to write something down, the statement, the chief thief is always the belief beneath the behaviour. I'll say it again. The chief thief is always the belief beneath the behaviour.
So what is this thief stealing?
True, I know. Just the big question. So good. Yeah. So the chief thief is that spider, that king-lie, that bottom of the basement. And it is the thing we don't know that we're thinking that is actually dictating to and controlling the way we show up in the world. Yeah. Yeah. The one pulling the strings. Yeah. So now in the full 2-week school, David also does a talk on recognising the difference between assumptions, beliefs and self-talk, and then recognising where each of them cross over and have shared territory. Because sometimes you can have self-talk that is both self-talk and an assumption. So we want to be able to distinguish what defines a belief and where it sits within our thinking.